Hi, I'm Becca Otis from Five Lines Pottery in Indianapolis, Indiana.
And I'm Ryan Durbin from RD Ceramics, located in Southgate, Kentucky.
And welcome to Wheel Talk.
Hey guys, we've loved answering all of your questions so far. If you'd like to hear your question on the podcast, please send them to us on Instagram at wheeltalkpodcast or by email to wheeltalkpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks.
Yeah. All right. Let's
start. All right. Welcome everybody to Wheel Talk. We are back with another guest today. Somebody that, if you've listened to our podcast, you know that we're like both huge fans of, and we actually talked on the last interview show. I don't know if this just the stars aligned. I don't know if she listened to this, but we both said like our dream interviewee would be you. I don't know.
That's amazing.
But we have Leigh Anne Thompson on here from, I want to say, Elan Pottery. First of all, is that the right way to say it?
Yes, you did it perfect. Yeah.
Okay. Welcome, Leigh Anne. We're super crazy excited to have you here and meet you.
Thanks. I'm so excited. I've been wanting to do this for about a year now. We started talking about it, and I don't know, it just kind of finally worked out.
Yeah, something came up. I don't know. Something came up last year.
Something obviously not as important as this.
Yeah, I don't know.
Clearly.
So for people that don't know you, can you tell a little bit about, I guess, who you are and like where you kind of sit in clay and what you're most known for, and just your little story in about a minute or so?
In a minute, sure.
Or two.
You can have two. We'll give you two.
Elan Pottery started when I was, I think like maybe my early 20s, but I've been doing clay since high school. Elan was a nickname that I had when I was a kid. My cousin's name was Noelle, and I used to call her Olio, and then my name's Leigh Anne, so she used to call me Elan. And then when I was trying to come up with a business name, I looked up Elan, and it's actually not a word, but Elan's a word, and it's spelled the same, and it means like inspired or artistic flair. So it kind of worked out perfectly. So it kind of switched over to being Elan Pottery, and I started doing Renaissance festivals when I was, I think maybe 24 or 25, selling my pots, and fell in love with it. It was just so magical. So I bought a Chevy van, and I don't know, just like just traveled around the country, bought a kiln and put it in the back, and just kind of set up my studio at the different festivals that I did, and lived on the road year round for 12 years. It kind of transitioned over the years from van to travel trailer to fifth wheel. And then in 2010, I had my son Ocean. So that kind of fast forwarded stuff a little bit. I ended up getting a fifth wheel instead of just the van, because I was like, I don't know, something about child services.
What's a fifth wheel? Is that a vehicle that has a trailer on it?
A big trailer that you tow behind your truck, but it like the hitch sits in the bed of your truck as opposed to being on your bumper.
Oh,
so a little disappointed
is that just
in you,
because
Ryan?
It's so heavy duty? I've never heard of a fifth wheel. I didn't know what that was.
It's the fifth wheel.
Yeah, that was pretty. That got pretty crazy. It had four slide outs. It was 42 feet long. And I was like single at the time, so I was like driving, towing this thing down. I don't know. It got crazy. So anyways, and then when Ocean was 4, I met Steven, 3.5, 4, I met Steven, and was like, ooh, who's that? And he's wonderful, and was like, you're coming with me. I'm taking you from the Texas Renaissance Festival, and you're going to, hang out. And he loves pottery, so now he does all the glazing. We bought a house in Maryland 6 years ago, and that kind of coincided with right when I got on Instagram. And that kind of blew up pretty quick. At the beginning, people were like, oh, you want to ship stuff? And I was like, I don't really have a way to ship it because we live in a van or we live in a trailer. It doesn't really work. And then we bought the house and started buying boxes. And then, started doing online. And then online kind of blew up right around the same time. People just started getting on Instagram. Things just kind of got crazy. And then last year we started... actually, I guess 2 years ago, we started our new business, Elan Transfers, where we make And I think the question was like, what do you think you're most known for? Probably my transfers and, utilizing them on my pots and the graphic nature of them. And so now we design and have them commercially screened, and we sell them all across the world. It's so like crazy. Like 30% of our customer base is not even in the United States. It's like in like India and
That's
like
nuts.
all Mexico and everywhere. It's pretty nuts. Yeah. So
I'm surprised to hear you say that that's what you're most known for, your transfers, versus the pottery you've been creating for years and like more than a decade. It's like,
I would say like national, like I'm not like world known for my own pots. You know what I mean? I don't know, maybe, but the transfers, I mean, I have, we have wholesale accounts now, and maybe that's the biggest, but
because I see your old stack of transfers when you're showing your stories and like flipping through them, like that's like an inch thick of transfers. I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah, and that's
orders,
like
not
thin
like
ass paper. That's like Bible paper. It's paper is so thin, and it's like it's just that's a lot.
It's rice paper. Yeah, it's super thin. You should try counting them. That's really that's really when they like people order like more than one of them, or they order like a bunch of them at a time. We're in there like, you don't want to like lick your finger because then it gets wet and then the ink gets wet. So we're in there like, and then COVID that really messed it up. So now I'm like, we have to wear gloves and we're trying to count these thin pieces of paper.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always something fun going on around here.
So you said you started pottery in high school, and what's your total like time doing clay? I feel like everybody starts in high school, right?
I didn't. Not me.
You did.
No, it was 1998. I was a senior in high school, and I went to a school in Connecticut, and our teacher there was kind of like retiring and had a wheel there and was just like, yeah, you can play on it if you want to, like most people, and like gave me passes to get out of math to be able to like come in and throw pots. I feel like the stories, I hear it a lot, you know what I mean? Like, just kind of like had a love for it and bought a wheel when I graduated and made pots in the linen closet,
Oh yeah.
That old story.
So how'd you first get into the Ren fairs? Like, is that the first way that you started selling?
I think I did an art show once, like in high school, like a local, like actually it was the Riverton Fair in Connecticut. I just had like a little table there, but that was in high school. And then after that, no, I hadn't sold any pots at all until I did the Connecticut Renaissance Festival. And a potter friend of mine who's actually out of Seagrove now, but he was out of the New Hampshire Institute of Art at the time, Jeff Brown Pottery. I was taking an open studio class with him so that I could have access to the kiln. And I was like, hey, so I just signed up to do this 8-week Renaissance Festival. And he was like,
yeah, that's a big task. Right?
And I was like, yeah, but it's all right. I'll figure it out. And he was like, wow, all right. So I think he saw like some ambition in me that maybe, kind of sparked his interest, So he was like, kind of took me under his wing for a little bit there and, showed me how to use his wood kiln. And I got to rent space from him. And, he kind of was a mentor for me in a way for a little bit at the beginning, just because he was like, okay, so if you're going to make that many pots, you're going to need to be able to throw really fast. And he basically like kind of taught me the ins and outs of production pottery, like how to not care about things so much, just like do it.
What's so funny is that I just went to the workshop with Danny Meisinger.
Oh, and, yeah, pots.
Yeah, he's amazing. And he was doing something and he was like, I don't know, it just takes me to like a long time and blah, blah, blah. And he was talking about it. I was like, you care too much.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I don't know. I was like, yeah, you do.
Yeah. And I mean, I care too much about stuff like the decorating, but the actual throwing of it, it's like if you spend, 15 minutes trying to make a mug, like you're not going to be able to make a living off of it. You got to like, because the decorating of the mug takes me like an hour to an hour and a half for one mug. That's not the handle. That's not the firing. That's not the glazing. So I can't be spending half an hour to throw something.
The mug is like your canvas.
Yeah.
Now that you're doing all of the super decorative things to it.
For sure. So yeah, but originally the reason why I got into Renaissance festivals because I'm kind of like a super dork. I love to do like LARPing and stuff. I don't do it much anymore because I'm like old, but in the beginning I was doing a lot of like LARPing, which is I don't know if you guys are familiar. It's like live action role playing where you like run around with like foam swords and like beat people up that are dressed up like orcs and stuff.
Sounds like Ren Fair crowd right there.
Yeah. It was super fun. So, and then anyways, the LARP that I went to was called Mythical Journeys. It was out of Connecticut, and they also own the Renaissance Festival in Connecticut. So they were like, "Oh, don't you make pottery? You should have a booth at our festival." And I was like, "Yeah, kind of, but yeah."
You gotta get in the right circles. It sounds like you gotta have the right people around you.
Yeah.
So that those opportunities come up, because otherwise, like going and finding a Ren Fair, because I feel like there's only like one potter at most Ren Fairs, right? One or maybe two. Maybe I've only been to like 2 Ren Fairs, so I don't know.
It depends on how big they are. The one that I'm doing currently is in Texas, just south of Dallas. It's called the Scarborough Renaissance Festival. I think there's 5 potters, but I mean, I think there's 350 artisans there. So 5 out of 350 is not that big. That's not that much. And we're all very different potters. We do different things, so that's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Becca, what you got? I feel like I'm stealing all the questions.
No, I mean, it's okay. It's okay. I think the biggest question I have is, how are you still sane? You're so busy. Or are you still sane?
I don't know if I am. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. I was just saying before, I was talking to Ryan for a second before you came on, and saying, just like being at Scarborough, the festival there for like, I think I was there for like 12 days, just made me realize how much COVID has affected me and how much of a people person I am. Like, just to like be around my customers. It's weird because on one hand, you're like, customers, like they always want to ask you if you have like the same mug in a different color. But, and on the other hand, it's like, it's really something like to not like be only online and like, I don't know, you just like don't really see people interact with your stuff, and to be at the booth and to see people come in and like pick stuff up and they're like, "Oh my God, I love this one," or, "Oh, I'm just going to put that one back," just to like see them interact with stuff. It's like really like
a huge barrier.
It really feeds the craft. And like, I hear some people that are like, artists say, "Oh, I don't make stuff for the customer, I make it for myself." And I'm like, "Oh, maybe I'm not really an artist, because I definitely make stuff for the customer. Like, I want people to like it,
Yeah.
Like, if you don't like it, then I'm gonna second guess it. So I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. But it was nice. So as far as how am I still sane, I think that I get not sane, if that's a word. If I get like not sane when I'm not doing stuff. So this past year with COVID, it's been difficult just because I'm not going anywhere and I'm not traveling and I'm not moving 100 miles an hour. But then I look at things like how clean my house is. And so maybe I've just been really busy here.
Like you've always got something going on.
Yeah.
There. Like when you say getting out, do you mean like getting out and doing things socially, or like actually going to the different Ren fairs so that you're like, okay, that's on the calendar, I've got that coming up, I'm going to get out of the house and go over here, versus like I'm going to be at home for the next 2 weeks or 4 months or whatever.
Definitely the Renaissance festivals, because I spent 12 years doing it full time. Like, so every 2 months you have to pack up your entire life, studio, a kid, everything, and move across the country and then reset it all back up.
Yeah.
And you live in a campground. So like people like live on top of you. You only have about 10 feet between you and your neighbor. So like people are constantly over. It's not like when you live in a house where like, I don't know my neighbors, so there's always something going on. There's like a barbecue every night. There's just like, so not only the social aspect of it, but also there's like being at a festival and like customers, and every weekend you're open. It's a big change to then like going and living in a house. And we don't live in the country, but we definitely don't live in like a subdivision. So like if I don't go to the grocery store, I don't see people. And so having that big of a change that quickly I didn't even really notice how much it affected me until I like went to the festival last week and was like, oh my God, I like see these people that I'm like, if you would have asked me like 2 years ago, I would have been like, oh yeah, whatever, that person. I'm like, oh my God, I missed you so much. But So yeah, it was really nice to just see people and customers and interact with them and be like busy in a different way. Be busy in a different way. I guess that's it.
Yeah, that's funny because like when I moved from Washington to Indiana, I didn't realize how much I cherished like going to the grocery store and like knowing somebody at the grocery store and like just the community that was there. And then coming here and you're like going to the grocery store and you know nobody. And I'm like, okay, I don't know how to deal with this.
It's like a smaller fish in a big pond versus a medium to big fish in a smaller pond.
Yeah. So would you say I think that I already know this answer, but would you say that are you an extrovert or an introvert?
I feel like I'm an extrovert when I'm an extrovert, and I'm an introvert when I'm an introvert. I would say
extrovert.
If I had to pick, I would say I'm probably an extrovert. But I definitely like when I'm home, I like to like, just chill and like do my thing and be home.
But you also have a number of people that work in your business that you have to see on a regular basis. I mean, they're close to you, so like you're familiar, you're comfortable with them, but
I guess that's true. And it's funny because I'm over here talking about how like lonely it's been at my house, but I do have 5 employees that work here. But for somehow they just seem like family now. So it's just like they're just more, like we're all in our own little pod. We see each other, 5 days a week. So they don't really count. They're
I get that too. I understand that. Yeah.
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 But I'm excited to get back to a new normal and see what this next year holds for things. Not only at the Renaissance Festival, but our transfer business has really grown in the past year. I guess a lot of people, shopping online and doing things there that it's hard to keep up now. It's hard. We also own a fairy booth where we sell like fairy wings and like we have like a tea party, and then we also have a rock shop, and we also have a shop where we sell like elf ears at the Renaissance festivals. So now we're trying to decide if we're going to sell off some of those businesses that are maybe not quite as on topic to make room for the transfer business that's pretty much taken over our lives and our studio.
Is that for time commitments, or is that for like just branding and like what you can like keep under your own like umbrella?
I don't think it has anything to do with branding because most people don't even know about it. It's more time, like, and I would say less than even time. It's just like staffing it. It gets hard when you're not at the Renaissance Festival to hire people. So like I have, 4 shops right now in Scarborough, and each of them has like 1 to 2 employees. And then, if you're not physically there, it's hard, like what if somebody like is hungover and doesn't go to work? You know what I mean? Like it's hard to, so
manage from afar.
Staffing it and managing something like a business from afar like that gets a little bit tricky. So I think mostly it would just alleviate a little bit of stress, that of that would be nice. So yeah.
I'm curious, when you went back to the festival this year, did you at all have concerns about like, I'm sure your what you were making shifted a little bit in COVID because you went entirely online. Does your pieces you're making for online differ from what you make for the fair? And like, did you have to delineate the two?
I think what I normally do is, now that we have the online business, what I do is I make like as much stuff as I possibly can, and then we go through it, and anything that's like 110% gets sold online for like, the price that I would like to charge for something that's 110%. And then everything else that's not 110% goes to the Renaissance Festival. And I'm not saying that this stuff is like not good. It's more just that like maybe there's a tiny little something or a little, like basically any kind of like mishaps goes to the festival and it gets sold for less. And that's for 2 reasons. One, people are already paying $28 a person or whatever to get into a Renaissance fair. And then they're like, $110 for a mug, they're like having like an aneurysm about that. So, being able to have less expensive things was nice. The second thing is that it's also nice for people to be able to like pick it up. And if it is slightly flawed, they can see it in person, and I'm not sitting there trying to like explain on a post or something about what's wrong with it. And then the third thing is, it's really nice to see customers online in person. So they get to come in and they know that I'm selling things slightly less, or, maybe they have a flaw and they're like, and they can't buy something online because it sells out so quick. They're like, I
Right.
had last weekend, 2 people tell me they drove over 3 hours to come to the Renaissance Festival, and they'd never been there before. They just came because they knew I was going to be there. And I was like, God, that's like, God, I feel like I should just give you this mug. I feel so bad, I'm like, that's so amazing.
You got fans.
Yeah, fans. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It's definitely nice to sell in person, because then something that you see as like, oh, that's not my best work, like a customer is like, this is amazing. And you're
yeah.
like, yeah, it is. Yeah.
And then it makes me feel like good about it, because when you guys know, when you're at home in your studio and you open a kiln, I'm like, that's like my worst time. People are like, oh, you must be so excited about opening a kiln. I'm like, actually, it's like the worst. Like, I open a kiln and I'm like, everything sucks. I'm like, I'm terrible. And then I like throw it on the shelf and like go upstairs and have a glass of wine and come back down the next day. And I'm like, all right, this isn't so bad. All right, this is cool.
Where you look at something you made a month ago and you're like, why? Why did I make that?
Yeah, try having a booth at a Renaissance fair where you pack everything up at the end of the season, you leave it there, and then you don't see it again for a year, and then I come back and I have to sell this, and then COVID happened. It was 2 years, so we went back to Texas, and I'm unloading the booth of the stuff I made 2 years ago, and I'm like, this is all terrible. But then luckily the girl that works for me, she's like, Leigh Anne, people like want the old stuff. They don't only want your new stuff. Some people like your old stuff. And I was like, so now we were doing like a VIP tour of the back room. People would come in, they'd be like, can I get the VIP tour? And they'd like go in the back and like pick through all of the stuff that I was like almost going to throw in the dumpster. No, I wasn't.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I totally relate to that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I do have a question that's not related to the Renaissance festivals.
Yeah.
In a way. So I know was it last year? You guys started selling, you started selling coffee, right? And then you started selling those pour overs?
Oh yeah, the drippers. Yeah, the pour overs.
How's that going?
Well, the coffee is going great. We have a coffee club now. Originally, it just started because a friend of mine has a coffee, she roasts, and I was like, hey, can we come up with some flavors, and I can name them like pottery kind of stuff. And she was like, yeah, cool. And then people kept being like, oh my God, this is the best coffee I've ever tasted. So then they wanted to buy it. Oh, because I was just going to give like a free pot away with each mug. And I still do that. But now people buy it by the pound, which is really pretty awesome too. And then the coffee drippers worked out because I had bought one of those. They're were designed by a Japanese girl who I think was in college. Maybe she was doing some sort of like I don't remember what the project was, but anyway, she had designed this coffee dripper and it won like all sorts of awards. And so they're slip cast and they're made in Japan. And I reached out to the company, was like, I really love these. I'd love to sell them on our website. And they were like, cool. I think I'm one of 3 people in the States that's allowed to sell them just because of the amount that they produce. And it's going, really well. People seem to really love them. They work really great. I'm not generally in the habit of like selling other people's work, but I was thinking about making my own. And then I tried those and was like, they're good. And their colors are perfect. So
it kind of fits your vibe too. I feel like you kind of like that mid-century, or I could be getting it wrong. Like
no,
whatever that vibe
is. It's like very vibrant colors, like, it works really well with my pots. A lot of people, are always like, oh, I don't like the skulls. Why do you do so many skulls? And I'm like, I don't really particularly like the fact that they're skulls, or like, oh, I'm not like listening to like Rob Zombie or something. I don't know, but like they're so graphic. So when I'm designing different things, I'm like, I like the like graphic nature of it, like the thick lines, bold, contrasting things. And so they work really well. Not only the lines contrasting and the black and white contrasting, but they also contrast really well with like the florals. So like, kind of like this like old lady chic with this more kind of like badass situation happening.
Totally.
Like, so it fits me in that respect, not specifically because like I'm into like death or anything. Although I have seen Typo Negative probably 20 times. So
well, I just like to tell you that I know it sounds terrible, but I don't know if it does sound terrible. When you started selling those coffee drippers, I like gained so much more respect for you. And the reason is because I was like, finally, fucking finally, somebody in the ceramic industry is making it, like, taking advantage of somebody outside of this country and bringing it in, because my best friend imports like mugs from China, and so I've been in this like conflicted state of being for such a long time, because like, you know, he's like getting these China mugs and I'm like, no, you got to make sure they're cone 10, and like we're like working with this company to make these mugs like literally better quality than my mugs, and when you started doing that, I was like, yes! I'm like, yay, somebody who's like actually business minded, and like
I know. People give me sheesh about stuff all the time like that. Like, oh, well, don't you feel like... And then there's all this backlash from, like, you know, I guess Seth Rogen, you know, is making these pots, and he's like, you know, having them slip cast in China, and like there's like this whole huge thing in the ceramics community now about like how he's like selling out. And I'm like, I mean, like, what, like, I'm not like comparing myself to Seth. I'm just saying, like, what did you expect? And like, he's a Hollywood star. Like, he's gonna like open a ceramics company now. I don't know.
He's gonna drop everything and start.
Right, he's gonna drop everything and be hand making. You know, I don't know. So on one hand, it's like, yeah, there's like this like, you know, ode to the craft and ode to like, oh, well, you're an artist and this and that. I'm like, well, we've already defined that I'm not a real artist because I like to make things what people like. So I mean, why am I gonna put myself into this like box of, I don't know. You know, it's just like, people get so upset about stuff, and I think as long as you're being a good human being and your heart is in the right place, like, let's all just, you know.
Yeah, well, I can tell you from one person, I was very happy.
Oh, well, I'm glad to know. That makes me happy feel.
So you mentioned all the different like avenues. You've got the pour overs, the enamel pens. We didn't even mention those. The pens. You've got the transfers. You got your own pottery line. You've got the fairs. Like, how the hell do you manage all that? How do you like have the right people to like take care of things? Because you're only one person. So
yeah,
that's kind of my high level question, I guess, to start.
I think that's been the hardest actual thing to figure out, and it's kind of been like along the way. I think that I would really love if there was like more of like a business minded like avenue that I could go down to try to like get like advice or like a mentor. But I feel like anytime I try to do anything like that, it ends up being like a bunch of like people that don't actually work. They just want to like post pretty pictures on Instagram and like talk about the things that they want to do, but they're not actually doing it. So
Right.
That kind of frustrates me. But as far as like how I've actually been able to do it, it's like literally just doing it. Like, I wake up at like 6 o'clock in the morning. I don't go to bed until usually like 11, but I try to stop working around 9. But I mean, I'm literally working like all day. It's kind of like how my brain works, and I love it. So it's not like it's like, oh, it's such a drag. You know, you got to love what you do. And then hiring just good help along the way. Like, the girls that manage my shops at the Renaissance fairs all worked for me for about 15 years now, and they're amazing. And I just try to pay them really well. And every time they think about like trying to do something else, I'm like, wait, I don't think I've given you a raise in a minute. Like, I'm giving you more money, you know, like whatever I can do, you know. Same thing with my employees at home, you know, like, first I was just like paying them, you know, cash years and years ago. Then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to pay you 1099s. And I was like, wait, now I want to like pay you like a real employee with the W-2. And like, wait a minute, now I want to give you health insurance. And like, now I want to make sure you guys are making like at least, you know, a decent amount of money per hour. And, you know, and now I want to make sure that like, you know, if you want to stick around, we have like a 401k. So it's like kind of little things along the way that you kind of just do. So hiring good help has been helpful.
I think that's amazing. Like, especially that you put your employees first.
Scenes that we don't know anything of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
it's hard
just
to
like
verbalize all that because it's like you've got a business to run. You're not out here to share all the nitty gritty of how you do the business. Like,
I think I would love to, like, what you guys are doing, this podcast, it's so amazing. Like, a couple years ago, I tried to like start doing something with my girlfriend, not a podcast, but more like a webinar kind of thing. Like, people would ask like different questions and like do like a webinar and teach. but it got like a little like overwhelming, for me, because I was just kind of like, I'm only one person, like you said. So not only finding the time, but also like what makes me think that like the things that I'm telling somebody are good for them. You know what I mean? Like everybody's thing is different. So I do some
Right.
consulting for like certain artists that I know their business. But as far as like being able to like just teach people how to do things, like at the end of the day, it really is just about like doing it. It's like, and
Yeah.
if it's like I can like tell you like, oh, hire an accountant, oh, get better employees, oh, make more pots, but like it really is just about like doing it. Like every day, do something. Just do something towards a goal that you have. And if you don't have a goal, then you're not going to be able to go anywhere. So get a goal and then do something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, get a goal and do something.
Yeah, get a goal and do something.
Do it.
Keep it simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with are you so throughout a day, like, are you actively like, oh, we got a bunch of transfer orders to pack and ship, like this person, when you get here, you're going to be in charge of doing that, or do you do like releases of these different lines of the business like over time? So you're like, okay, we have a restock for the transfers on the 30th, and then we've got a pottery restock on the 15th, and is it kind of like that?
The pottery, we have to do it that way because otherwise, I don't know how else we would do it. You know what I mean? So yeah, we make like our next pottery restock, I think, is the 26th of June, and then basically we make as many pots between the last restock and the next restock, and then we put it online, and everything sells out usually within an hour or so, and then we pack everything and ship it. The transfers, though, they're just kind of like on the website all the time. They do sell out, though. So next Monday, we're having a big restock, and it's like, I measure our orders in inches these days, not in not in the number. So we'll probably get about, like within the course of the 12 hours after everything goes live, like 5 to 6 inches of transfer orders, which will take like 4 or 5 of us literally.
I love that.
Like I'm like bribing my sister, to come over to help.
Okay, wait. Are you familiar with Charlie Chaplin?
Yes, I know who it is, but I've only seen maybe a couple.
Every time you're talking about these transfers and like rifling through them, all I'm thinking about is like Charlie Chaplin in one of his movies, and he's like counting money and he's like and like really, really quickly, and that every single time I'm just thinking about you doing that. Like recounting them and then like not realizing the number and then recounting them again.
It kind of is actually like that, and I'm really dramatic, but not like in a way where like I don't know that I'm being dramatic. I'm dramatic in like a, oh my God, the world is ending, like over the top dramatic. So there's a lot of like me in the middle of like everything shits everywhere. There's orders everywhere. Everybody's running around frantic. I'm like just hysterically crying, laughing, like hysterically, like on the floor, hysterical. And all the girls that work for me, they're like, not now, we can't take it, not now. Or like I've been known to like hire somebody new and they start on the day of an update and they're not doing anything with the transfers. She's literally here to like take photos, for like these Instagram tutorials we're doing, or website tutorials. And she's over there trying to take photos and be quiet, and I'm hysterical. Steve and I are screaming. Everything's chaos. And Sierra, one of the girls that works for me, like, don't worry, she gets like this, but it's not like bad. It's just like, she's just crazy. She knows she's crazy. Just like ignore her. It's fine.
Unless it's temporary.
Yeah. So long as it's temporary. And I'm not mean to anybody. It's just more like I get to like a boiling point, and instead of like being mad or crazy, I just start hysterically laughing to where I'm like crying. And then it goes away, and
That's
So
amazing.
are they like building a post office right next to your house now, or?
No, we actually have one like a mile down the road, and it's funny because they gave me like a free P.O. box because she was like, I really want you, because they don't have a mail route, and I guess they're in danger of, post offices that don't have mail routes are in danger of closing. So she was like, I really want to have basically all of your business, but I print everything at home. So she was like, so can you, if I give you like a free P.O. box, can you just like use the P.O. box as your return address? And then bring everything in here. So she literally will hand scan every single thing. So they get the credit for it coming from them. They also get a credit for coming into the office. And she's
Looks
basically
like they're killing it.
Yeah, she said between you and I guess there's a guy down my street that sells like RC car parts. And then
Oh
there's
my God,
another
that's
girl.
fucking amazing.
Yeah, she's like, you three are, and there's another girl that does cookies. She's like, you three are keeping our tiny little post office in business, you know? I'm like,
Yay!
it's so
That's
great.
something to be proud
I have
of in
their
and of
phone
itself.
number. So like if a package is like somebody emails me, which is like 5 times a day because of COVID and the mail's so slow, like where's their package? I can literally call the post office and get a hold of the actual person there that I know. And I'm like, hey, it's Leigh Anne. Can you run a tracking number for me? You know, which where does that ever happen? You can't even go into a post office and get help these days.
Right.
That's amazing. I had an amazing postman as well in Washington, and it's like the most amazing feeling in the whole world.
Yeah.
When
And
the
for anybody
postman-
out there that's listening that doesn't have an amazing post office, like go in with some baked goods when it's slow, find the postmaster, introduce yourself, bribe them if you have to, just like try to make friends with them because the last thing you want is to not be friends with your post office.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, did you finally get a label printer?
I did. Yeah. In fact, I want another one now. That was so great.
Good.
Yeah, I think we have the same one. Is that the Rollo?
The Dymo?
I have the
you have the
Rollo.
Rollo, which is good.
I have the Rollo.
Yeah. I have the Dymo, but I've heard that the Rollo is way better.
Yeah, I like it. It's pretty good. I like it because there's no, ink or whatever. It's just like a thermal printer. So that's really helpful.
That must be really satisfying when it's time to get those things out. You're just like letting them feed out, and it's, you got a big pile of them on the floor, and you're just like, all right.
I don't know what that's like because you have to weigh everything. I don't know how.
Oh, I guess with the transfers, it's not semi-consistent enough that you like.
No, it's not like a mug where like
print.
you have 300 at 2 pounds. It's like every single order is different. So you have to weigh it. And so then you have to like put the order number in and search it. Yeah. And like I was saying, there's so many people that are international. So like having to change all the customs. So on an update for pottery, we can do that. We print out a bunch like that at a time. But for the transfers, everything's.
I'm surprised there's not like a weight that's like, you can say if it's like 3 transfers, it's going to be this weight, and like it's a threshold that's like enough, but I don't know.
I mean, I guess I could do it like anything under 5 transfers, we could do it at a certain weight. But still, people order like 1 transfer, they order 5, they order like 4 pounds of transfers. So it goes from anywhere from like 4 ounces up to like 4 and 5 pounds of them. It really depends on.
Because at this point,
you're some way.
At this point, you're kind of just finding efficiencies in your process to like, because I mean, if you're shipping out 4 inches or 6 inches of paper orders.
Well, yeah. And so what we usually do is we pull them, and then we now started shipping them into tubes because when we were folding them, they were cracking in the center because they were running through the scanners, and the post office scanners were squishing them. So then like if you fold it, they were squishing it. And then like, I mean, you can still use it, but we're trying to like, I don't know, be like professional, legit company now that we're like big time, So I was like, we can't be having any kind of shenanigans. So now we have tubes for everything, and we roll it, put it in a plastic sleeve, sticker it, put it in the tube, shut the tube, and then we tape the order to it, and then we have them, we weigh them. And so basically we just have these huge boxes all over the studio. We put them in there, like if it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 ounces all the way up. And then basically once the box gets full, usually my sister is the label printer when we have a big update. I'll hire her. She comes over and she just sits there, and, one person pulls all the orders, one person rolls them and puts them in the tubes, another person weighs them, and then somebody else sits and prints the labels out. And then, as soon as the truck's full, Steven goes to the post office and then comes back and we do it again.
I feel like, I know we're not like problem solving here, but like I know we shouldn't be, but we're gonna anyway.
Let's do it.
I feel like there's got to be some way to code that, Ryan. This is your area of expertise. Like there's got to be some way to code the fact, like the weight of the transfers, and then
it sounds like a shipping thing. Like if the number of items in the order is 10 or less, then
because every transfer is the same size, right?
I mean, it does come up when I put the order number in, it does come up and say, like, this is how much it should weigh based on what's in this package. And
Right.
generally speaking, it's right. It's just that, like, okay, so, like, again, we're not problem solving, but let's just say we were. So I have a stack of, like, 500 orders or whatever, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, whatever. I can't just literally sit there and print all this out. How am I going to find the label that I need for the order that's in front of me? So there has to be, like, a way that I can be like, okay, these are the orders that I need. And you know what I mean? Like, how am I going to find? So, like, somebody's pulling these orders and then they get packed and then they go into a box. Now they're just like orders in a box. So the only thing I would know is like the order numbers. So I still would have to enter the order number in so that I know which ones to print because those are the ones that are in that specific box. You know what I mean?
Are you using like a ship station or are you using straight in, because you use Shopify, right?
Yep.
You're not putting
I have
it
an
into
app that goes into it, Boxify. Basically, like, I put in how much every single thing weighs, and then when I go to, like, so I go into my orders or whatever and say it's like order number 1,000. I hit in number 1000, it pops up. I like right click on it, open the tab, click, create shipping label, and the weight's already there. I very rarely have to change the weight. It's usually that is the right weight. We weigh each thing just because it's not that much extra work and it double checks it. But generally speaking, the weight is right. It's just a matter of like I said, if I have like 50 orders sitting here that I'm trying to print labels of from out of 500 that are outstanding, there's like, how do I know which ones to print? You know what I mean?
Like, what about we will talk about this afterwards, but but I'm like, when Andrew was doing his stuff, because my best friend, we'd get like 300 Jane deals and we're doing like different mugs and stuff and shipping them out. We'd always print out packing slips in like little tiny print, and then he'd through ShipStation, and when he'd print out the packing slips, they'd be in the same order as the labels, and you could auto select like 50 of them at a time and print all the packing slips, and then you would print all the labels. So when you get the packing slips, you like gather all the orders, put the packing slip on, and then just slap the label right on top of the packing slip. So
I do that with my pottery. I can print like when I print the orders, and then I go right in and I print the labels because I know the weights are perfect, so then I just put the label on top of the packing order. So like I hand them the order, I write the thank you card, it goes in a box with the mug that I pull, Steven packs it and just puts the label right on top. So that's easy, that's nice. But the only problem with it is like I know those are 2 pounds, whereas the transfer, like I said, it's not often that they're wrong,
but it could be
wrong.
Yeah,
and it's an international order that's wrong. That really messes it up. So
well,
maybe I'll try this update. I'll try printing the labels ahead of time because that's the only way that I would be able to do it is if the labels got printed before the order's pooled. Because once the order's pooled, it's in a tube and it's in a box with 100 other orders. There's no way for me to be able to be like, I'd be looking through each one. That wouldn't work.
That's so much. Yeah.
I was thinking like if they're domestic and the price is not that much different, like just choosing a flat rate number for like a number of like 10 transfers is going to be like $10. Like, are you like spending too much labor that you're not getting paid for? Like, should you just charge more for shipping so that it's like the shipping's a flat number for like this and fewer because you're working so hard for it,
being the same-ish anyways. You know what I mean? Like the shipping doesn't really change much between domestically for 3, 4, 5 ounces. You know what I mean?
It's just finding the right order for the right. Yeah,
it's really about finding the right order.
So in talking about all these different tasks, can you name like your favorite thing to do like in your business, whether it's the pottery or just anything, I guess?
I'll give you my favorite in each one because I couldn't pick a favorite overall. My favorite in the transfer business is designing the transfers. I've gotten like I didn't even know how to use a computer before I got on Instagram, and now I'm doing like Adobe. I'm learning Illustrator. I'm doing like a lot of fun things with that.
So you were the designer for that. It's not somebody else that you partner with?
I've been working with a lot of graphic designers I'm just recently in the past, I'd say 6 to 8 months taking over most of it. And even still, like I use designers, some of the images, and then I'll like change it or I'll put it on a sheet and I'll be like, okay, well, I want to do like some other things, so I'll design other things or like go in and redraw some stuff and like add other things in. So it's not just like, I don't know, somebody's like a picture that somebody drew of a cat, you know what I mean? And then I just like repeat the cat, and it's not like that. But in the beginning, it was more other people. And I had a girl who does my website, who's a graphic designer, Christy, she's amazing. And she's been mostly doing the graphic design for me. But I'd say recently I've been getting into doing it, and I really love it. And it's been really fun. So that's exciting. And so now I'm like, I could make mugs today, or I could design a new transfer,
I totally understand that as well.
Yeah. So I've been trying to like break my day up. Like I wake up around, usually a little before 6 and make coffee. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to like, first I'm going to take an hour to do emails. And then I'm going to like design a transfer. And then I'm going to go make mugs while the girls are here. Cause then we can sit in there and like listen to crime podcasts and like bullshit. And then usually by like 2 or 3, I'll come back in the office and like answer emails again. And then maybe like work on the transfer that I started in the morning. So that's my favorite thing about the transfer business. Pottery, my favorite thing is making mugs. I love to sit at a wheel and just like mindlessly throw mugs over and over and over again. I love production. People ask me all the time, how can you do that? I'm like, I just love it. Like,
I think we all love that.
Do you think you would still love it if you didn't have the other businesses to balance you out, or if you were just producing?
Not as much, because who wants to do the same thing all the time? But like at least 2 to 3 days a week, I'm sitting at that wheel.
Becca's raising her hand for those listening. Becca's like, all me.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, no, because I just got into production, and this week I did crumbles for the first time in a while, and it's like you do 100 of them, right, in a go. And I was doing them, and I was like, man, I miss this. Like, I miss doing the exact same thing over and over and over again. I hate doing different forms every day.
No, I like it when you feel comfortable and you know what you're doing, and you can do it without thinking. Like my hands just move.
Yeah,
it's nice. Like you can be in your head, you can think about stuff, you can put headphones on, you can listen to podcasts.
Yeah. I like had to stop listening to some podcasts when I was throwing some forms because I was thinking so much about like, because I was interested in the podcast. I'm like, oh, now I can't throw this. And like, but yeah, no, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Cool. And do you design the pins too? Like.
Yeah. A lot of them are designed after my mugs, so that wasn't very difficult. And then the pottery tools one, like obviously they're made to look like tools, but like, I just designed, like put the pins on top of each other, and then you send it to the pin company, and they, make it from what you're drawing or what you're giving them to draw from. And the one that's like the Namas clay one with the girl, I drew that, which I'm not a really great drawer, but I'm better at drawing than I used to be. So that one was fun. I drew that one out, actually with pencil and paper, not on a computer, and then scanned it. Yeah. So, but I mean, it is an enamel pin, so it's like kind of subjective or something or whatever. You draw it and you send it to them, and they make it from your drawing. It's not like.
Yeah. I've seen some of those at Queen City Clay that's here in Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah?
They have a batch of them there.
That's cool.
I have the one that says World's Greatest Potter.
That's one of my faves.
World's Best Potter?
The Office.
Yeah, I have like 7 of them in that frame up there on the wall. You probably can't see it, but there's like a mug that I think my mom gifted me.
Your mom and your wife. Your wife helped design it, but your mom
and Rachel. Yeah, so there's 7 of those pins up there. They're pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. You're bringing pins back, man.
Yeah.
Pins and magnets.
I actually am coming because, so like favorite TV shows like Schitt's Creek, The Office, Seinfeld, I just like love these shows. So there's a lot of like references in Schitt's Creek because it's, a newer show that I'm now rewatching again. I have like a notebook and I'm like, oh my God, that needs a transfer. Oh my God, that needs a pin. I think like one I watched last night, she was like, would it kill someone to plant some peonies around here? And I'm like, oh my God, I love her so much.
That's how I feel about decals.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of decals, we are expanding to overglazed decals next week.
No, you're not.
What?
I'm so excited.
Breaking news.
Yeah, I bought an overglazed decal printer to the tune of I'm just gonna choke. That is so expensive.
$10,000. I'll say it for you. It's $10,000.
No, it was way more than that.
Oh, you got the color one.
I got the
color one.
Yeah, it was like 16. Almost had a heart attack, but it's gonna be worth it. People are gonna love the sheesh out of them. And I ordered it. Unfortunately, with COVID, it was back ordered, but they shipped it. It's gonna be here, I think, Monday.
What's the brand?
It's the Ricoh.
Okay, yeah. Rebecca, the person that I work for, also my friend, Elan Pottery, she has two. She has a black one, a blue one, and a red one. No, black and red. I think she's gonna get
each color.
Yeah, but she doesn't need the super color one, and Isaac Shoe has the full color one.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'll give you her contact so that you can talk to her if you have any issues, because she's been the lamination of it is like, that's the thing, right? Because you have to laminate the decals, and she's using like this laminator that they sell with it, but it's not fast enough, and it like cools down. And she's like, we do production, right? And so so he told her
get some info from her on that.
Yeah. He told her about a separate laminator that's like way better. So that might be fun.
Well, I'll have to check that out. I guess it's gonna be a learning curve.
Yeah.
See how it goes. But
that's exciting though.
I know. Yeah, they're full color and food safe.
Small new business there.
Yeah, well, that's what we were thinking is like, so I've been for the past like 3 or 4 months designing overglazed transfer sheets. And I kind of wanted to like try to differentiate from some of the other people that do them. So I'm like born in 80. I love the 80s. I love everything the 80s. And I was like, ooh, do you remember those sticker sheets that we used to get when we were kids?
Yeah.
So I'm starting to design them like sticker sheets. So like there's the things that you're wanting, like we have one that's like garden gnomes. So it's like garden gnomes, that's what you're wanting, and like some mushrooms. But there's also like little stars going on, like other like extras, that
little
like
grassy gnomes.
Yes, like little grass coming up on the sides. And it's like completely unnecessary. It's just like wasting ink that's expensive for no reason, other than like there's a lot of people that do things, and I want to do it differently, and you can always use it, so like cut the grass out, stick the grass somewhere,
Yeah.
So that's exciting. And also people always are wanting custom decals from the underglaze transfers, but because you have to make a screen and there's like a 50 sheet minimum, and they don't, so a lot of times people don't understand that like it's just like a single color or just like maybe 2 colors. It's not like it's not like a printer. I think they think I'm just printing them. Right. So when I'm like, oh yeah, you have to pay for the screen, and then it's a 50 sheet minimum, they're like, wait, so it's gonna be like $400 or something for the minimum? And I'm like, yeah, you got to really need them. So this is a great way to like be able to offer people custom decals that you can just have a sheet of them.
Totally.
So,
that's cool.
That's exciting, and they will be thicker, so you can thumb through them a little bit easier.
Yeah, there we go. Now what we do is that since we roll the underglaze transfers, the girl that does my website and I have been sitting here trying to figure out all week, like, whoa, so like I have to have like a separate shipping profile. So like if somebody orders underglaze transfers and then decal sheets at the same time, like I don't want to roll the decal sheets because then they're going to be all curled up and they're going to be like pissy about, because then they're going to be rolled. They're not going to be flat.
Oh, yeah.
So then now I'm like, okay, well, crap. Now we got to have like.
Well, it doesn't totally matter if they're rolled, because they're gonna have to cut them out anyway and put them in water, and then they roll up.
Yeah.
When they get wet.
You would not believe what people get upset about.
Oh, I do believe.
I do
know. No, I mean, like, yes, I agree.
Yeah, so like, and it's a 2-inch tube. It's not like a 4-inch tube. So that 2 inches like pretty small around for a decal sheet, that's going to be pretty tightly. So now we're like, okay, well, so now people are like, wait, so now I have to pay separate shipping? Yep. Yeah, you are. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, until I figure out a better method of doing it. I don't know.
I love
Yeah.
it.
It's
I
like
love
a
all
work
the
in
problem
progress.
solving happening right now. It's great.
Yeah.
Like,
And I love that. It's like a work in progress. Like, it's like, that's how my whole business got started, was just like, hey, I think I'm going to do this Renaissance Festival. Let's see how this goes. Oh, I need to have bags for it. Let me sew some bags. Oh, hey, I'm going to do this other Renaissance Festival. Oh, I need a house to live in. Oh, I'm going to buy a house, like a trailer. It's like nothing. I mean, yeah, I had like a plan, like I want to own my own business and I want to be able to go out to eat when I want to go out to eat and I don't want to like struggle for money. But other than that, there was no real plan. It was just kind of like things happen and then the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And then you just kind of like one thing leads to another. And like we said, as long as you're like doing stuff, the next thing always presents itself. So
I have a question that's semi-personal, but you can like signal me and I'll change the subject or something. But like,
boy.
no, I mean like, but, and you don't have to get into the nitty-gritty, but like, are you comfortable right now, like financially and like with your business and all the things? Like, have you met your goals of like will you be able? Are you on the work till you die program? Or are you on the like hey, we're gonna be fine? Once in like a retirement type of program. Like, are you? Because I feel like a lot of potters nowadays are like, oh, I'm on the work till you die program. Like, I'm gonna, I don't have a retirement. I don't have any savings. I don't have any, like, especially full time. And it's like we're barely making it, but we're making it. And I think it'd be cool to be like, hey, I'm like, I don't know if this is true, but like, hey, I'm making it.
Yeah. It's a couple of years ago, I was in this meeting with this woman who's at the Pottery Guild here in Franklin or in Frederick, Maryland, and she was saying something, well, nobody ever got rich off of pottery. And I was like, raised my hand in the middle of that. I was like, speak for yourself. I was like, I am definitely going to be making money off of pottery. Like, I don't have any plans to be poor and I don't have any plans on not doing pottery. So with those two as like goals, there's no option but to succeed at it. We just, Steve and I both just got a 401k for the business this year. So we both have now retirement plans. I have health insurance that's not Medicaid, through the business. We offer to all of our employees, even the 1099 employees. And yeah, I mean, I'm on the work till you die program only because I'm like a workaholic, but not because
like you want to be.
Yeah, I don't financially probably need to work till I die. I mean, we just paid our house off. That's been insane. Like, I don't know, like,
wow.
Like, I know.
Congrats.
It's crazy. I'm like, I don't know. It's nuts to like be like 40 and have a house paid off. Like, like,
yeah.
I don't know.
How long have you had that house? You said you got it like in 2010. Is that right?
6 years. Yeah. 6 years. Isn't that insane? And we just bought a trailer home down at the beach in Ocean City, Maryland, which is not paid off, but we were able to, get another mortgage for that. All from pottery, like.
You can do it, people.
You can do it. Yeah. You just
have
to
work your ass
off. Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel like work. I mean, like, yeah, if you're a person that doesn't want to work and you're like, oh, I think I'll start my own business because that seems like I won't have to have a boss. It's like, well, that's not going to work out for you but like for me, I was like a workaholic and I was working for other people and I was like, always like, I don't want to say getting in trouble, but I remember working at like this video store when I was a teenager. It was an adult video store, but I was like constantly like, oh, we should do this and oh, we should do this. And the manager was basically like, settle down, stop coming up with all these ideas. Like, we like it the way that it is. And I figure out, like, I knew then, I was like, I'm like annoying people because I always want to like come up with new ideas and change things and do things differently and like figure out how to make things better. And it was like annoying to them. And I was like, well, that's got to be like a benefit to something. It's just not working here,
Yeah.
And then, not to like be all dramatic and like talk about my ex, but like Ocean's dad and we're on good terms now, but we split up when he was 2 because I had the business, and he was like, you are constantly working. You work too much. When is it going to be enough? When are you going to have enough money? And I was like, it's not about money. It's about, succeeding and doing things and changing things and making things better and seeing what I'm capable of. And like, basically, like, you don't really know me very well if you think it's about money. So, well, I said when Ocean was 4, I met Steven, and he's like, just like me. Like, he's just like, what cool shit can we do today? Like COVID happened. He's like, we can't go anywhere. Let's build a greenhouse in the backyard, let's, like, what can we do? What kind of, shit can we get into? And being around someone that's equally as hard of a worker as I am. So, I think Brian was asking me earlier, like, how do you get so much done? I'm like, I only hire really hard workers and people that really love what they're doing. And, I'm also married to somebody who's an amazingly hard worker and loves what we do. And like, there's never any situation where somebody's like, you're always on your phone or you're always working. Like, I've never heard Steven say that. He's always like, what are you doing and what can I help you with? So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. And it shows in how far the business has come in the past 6 years. Like, just crazy. And it's like, yes, I'm the one running it. And yes, I'm the one with the ideas. And yes, I'm like directing. But none of it would happen if it wasn't mostly for Steven and also for all of the people that work.
Support system.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you're supporting a spouse, a child, 5 employees. You're keeping the post office down the street in business.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, technically you have more than 5 employees. 5 of them just work at the house. I think we have about now, I think we have almost 15, but
do you have a bookkeeper?
I have an accountant who is also does like our payroll. I used to do all my own taxes, but then like a couple of years ago, it just got really stressful. And not because I didn't know what I was doing, more we were making enough money to where I felt like
it was time.
Yeah, I was like, if I don't, like, what if somebody like audits me? That's mostly what I got scared about, is like, if I get audited, I don't want any kind of a situation where like anything. So now I have an accountant, and it's so nice. She just like does everything, and I just send her money every month. So, yeah. Same thing with the website. I have a girl that does the website. I mean, I go on there and I like list all the products and stuff and like come up with the ideas and, tell her what banners I want, but she does stuff, and it's not that I couldn't do it. It's just nice to have like another person where you can be like, hey, what do you think about this? And she'll be like, yeah, cool. Or, just like another person to help.
Yeah. It sounds like the people you have around you just like buy in to your vibe, your energy, your just gusto for the business of like what it can be. And then they're just like, hey, we're along for the ride. Like, we're going to help you out and support you.
That's
what I say. I'm like, we're like a ship, right? And like, you can either like get on the ship and like be rowing, or you can like GTFO the ship, but there's like, nobody's like on the ship if you're not, pulling your weight, and you got to like want to be here, you got to want to be here. Everybody that's worked here has worked here for years. The Callie, the girl that works in my studio, she's been here for 3 years. She's leaving to go get her master's degree in Portland in art therapy. And we're going to be so sad without her. And actually, she's deaf and has taught me sign language over the past 3 years. So when she was leaving, I was joking with her, said she was leaving, I was joking with her, and I was like, the worst thing about it is now how am I going to keep up with my sign language? So she actually recommended a friend of hers who used to be the secretary at the Maryland School for the Deaf and is now retired. So she's now the woman who we hired, who is in charge of packing all of the transfers every day. She comes in every day and packs all the orders. And she is not completely deaf, but she's very hard of hearing to where she signs. And so I was like, tell her, I said, sure, you have job security now, because I want to keep up with, knowing how to sign. So when Callie comes home, we can still talk to her. But everybody aside from Callie, who's leaving, has worked here for, really just years. It's been awesome.
That's so cool.
I have a survey when somebody gets hired, and so Sierra, the girl that I hired recently, I gave it to her and I said, okay, I don't know if this is legal or whatever. I don't think I'm allowed to give you like a questionnaire, And she was like, like there's like 10 questions, one of them is like, what did you think of the last episode of the Game of Thrones? Like all this stuff. And she was like, I didn't know how to answer. Like, I was afraid that you weren't going to give me the job. And I was like, what are the 3 podcasts you're currently listening to? She's like, but then the fact that you gave me the survey made me realize that like it was probably going to be a fun place to work. So yeah.
I had a boss once that told me I couldn't work there unless I watched Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Well, you're like, as long as I only have to watch it.
Yeah, right. Okay, I have another question.
Sure.
Okay. I know you don't have a pug mill, right? Do you have a pug mill?
No.
Okay, great. You're like such high volume, and I think it'd be cool to talk about your reclaim process if you have one, or if you don't have one, what you guys do, because there's a lot of people out there that like feel like they need a pug mill, and I'm not sure that it's totally necessary, and you're kind of like in that middle ground of like having enough volume, but also don't have one. So like, how do you guys kind of deal with that?
So currently we don't have one, but the reason is just because I've gotten pretty good at throwing. I don't really make very many mistakes. It's going to sound like
no, it's okay.
Pretentious or whatever.
You've been doing it for a decade longer. Yeah. Decades.
Yeah. And the only time I have scraps is like if it's trimming. And typically for trimming scraps, it's not like you can just re-wedge it. Like you got to like soak it in a bucket, and then you got to like do the whole situation. And that takes like time, and it takes you have to have the pug mill, and you have to have the buckets, and you have to have the space, and I just don't have the space or the time. And I could make space, but then it's like that's taking away from space that could be holding product or something else. And so the amount of money that it costs to buy the clay that I'm throwing away isn't worth spending the money on a pug mill. And
Becca's like, yes, I hear the throw it away, and she's all for it.
I'm all for it. So if anybody comes after you for it, you just send them my way, and I'll find them.
No, people come after me. Mostly people come after me about not wedging. They get so bent out of shape when I just take a block of clay and I cut it and throw with it, and they're like, you don't wedge, and I'm like, I mean,
the
I don't
pug
know
mill wedge for me.
It's been, but I've never wedged.
I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm like, why do you want to spend all that extra time wedging when there's, or like same thing with air bubbles. People get all bent out of shape about air bubbles. Like, oh, there's air bubbles, there's going to explode. I'm like, air bubbles don't make things explode. You having uneven dryness makes things explode. Like, or like I'll fill the kiln and turn it on. Like I'll make a mug today, trim it tomorrow morning, put a handle on it. It's in the bisque kiln by the end of the day, and they're like, oh, you can't put stuff in the kiln wet. And I'm like, I don't think I've ever put anything in the kiln dry, like just,
right.
I think people get like so bent out of shape about rules, especially with pottery. Like somebody told them this is the way that it has to be. And so therefore they just like, that's like suddenly the law on pottery. And it's like, I mean, as long as you're
some of it, if you're like learning, you kind of need something that sounds definitive, that like gives you some answer versus like, yeah, it could be this, or it could be this, or you could do that,
Yeah. And I think maybe because I didn't really ever like take a ceramics class. Like I had that ceramics class in high school, but it wasn't really ceramics. It was more just like there was a wheel in the classroom. And then I took the open studio with Jeff Brown. But other than that, I haven't really taken any pottery classes. So mostly what I've learned is by like failing and then figuring out what I did wrong and then trying to do it again.
I feel like that's a way better way than some other ways of going and getting a bunch of debt and going by a curriculum versus like making what you want to make and trial and error and making thousands of them.
I mean, I guess it's like schools of thought, if you talk to like, I don't know, galleries or whatever, they want you to like, I don't know. So I guess it's like what your goals are, like if you want to be like, teaching at a college level and doing gallery shows and being like, that's your goal, then maybe getting a master's degree in ceramics is something that you should think about. But if you just want to like make pots and have people love them and sell them and not be so concerned about all that, then I don't think you need to have, I mean,
Preach.
I don't think, I don't know. I mean, I have a college degree, but it's not in ceramics.
I agree. There's a lot you can learn by trial and error.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot.
Especially with the internet now. Like anytime you see something, like there's 100 people want to tell you that you did it wrong, and you can be like, either listen to them or listen to them and be like, well, I don't really care, but I'm going to at least figure out what you're talking about, like crazing or, S-cracks or just like all of these things that maybe if you've never taken a class, you don't really know that they're not technically good things to have happen, but somebody else will tell you. They'll comment on your post, and then you can go and like do a little bit of research and figure it out. You don't have to like, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, back to the pug mill. The other reason why I don't is because I was like living on the road for so many years. Like I just didn't, so in the beginning when I was making more mistakes and it possibly would have been beneficial to have a pug mill,
not possible.
I couldn't. That wasn't possible. Yeah. So, but a friend of mine and I had talked about this fun, like, just like sitting around because like I love business and coming up with new business ideas. And we were chatting about this fun new business idea, which would be like if you have a pug mill, you get like a trailer and you put the pug mill like attached to the trailer, and you just drive from studio to studio, and like people like bring out your dad, but bring out your clay. It's like a traveling pug mill, and you like go and pug people's clay for them.
And they rent it from you, kind of.
It's funny because Josh has I don't know if I should say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Josh has a pug mill that's a 60-pound pug mill, and it's not de-airing, and it's fucking huge. And that's my friend Josh. And he's 100, like an hour up north. And Rebecca was like, we should just rent. I was like, we should just rent his pug mill like once a month.
Yeah.
We have to, but like having a big ass one that we could just put all the reclaim in just to like move it out for like a month would be beneficial.
Yeah. And you just save up, save up the clay in buckets, and then he just like rolls up with the pug mill, because it makes more sense obviously for him to bring the pug mill to you than it does for you to bring a bunch of like buckets of sloppy clay. Right. Sorry,
make
Josh.
a day, like have a pug mill day. It's like a barn raising, but a pug mill raising.
But a pug mill raising.
Yes.
You have like a after COVID party for, like everybody just like bring the clay, or
and then we cook pizzas in the kiln. Like
yeah. That'd be great.
It's a great idea.
So yeah, new business idea for somebody. Just like these like girls that want to like, or boys, I don't know, people that want to get on Instagram and like post their hashtag van life diaries, like their van that actually hasn't ever left their parents' driveway, they just like plug it in, but they want like to pretend they have this life. Well, you could actually have this life. Just buy a pug mill, hook it up to your van, you can drive around the country and support your Instagram.
Perfect. I would love to see those girls like actually get pug mill dirty, because when you reclaim clay, it's a whole different type of messy. It's like it's a lot.
And it smells. It's just the whole situation. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, when we first started getting on Instagram, we were doing a lot of like Periscope. Do you guys remember Periscope?
Yep.
I did Periscope a lot, and I had to go back in recently. Now that I'm like, oh geez, like I have to like care what people think of me, because I have like a real business. Not the pottery, like the transfer somehow seems like a real business. The pottery doesn't. But I had to go in there and like delete a bunch of stuff, because back when we were doing Renaissance fairs, we were doing like on Periscope, and I'd be like in the shower house, like videoing like my girlfriends and I, not actually taking a shower, but like how disgusting it was in there. And I'd be like there's one video that I had to delete it. It was like, oh, you hashtag van life diary people that think you actually live on the road, like this is what living on the road is. And there was like the paint had peeled off the wall in the shower house and was filled with water. So it was like this big bubble of nasty water, and I was like tapping it with my foot. There's just like molding gross water coming off. I'm like, this is what actual van life diaries is like. So anyways, recently I went through and was dying laughing at all these old videos, and then But of course, some people were following me then, and they're like, we miss all your crazy videos, that you used to post. And I was like, well,
Yeah, I feel like I started following you. I don't know when Ryan started following you, but I feel like I started following you right before you guys really started investing in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were still like you had 7 studios and you were still like kind of like moving
Traveling
around.
a lot more. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I stopped following you for a little while just because of jealousy, and then I came back.
Well, I'm glad you came back. I'm like,
Came back in the fold.
yeah.
Yeah, I probably started following like 2016 or something. It was probably one of the first, few accounts I was following,
Yeah. Yeah, Instagram's gotten funny. In the beginning, I was really on it, like, like who's following me and like, following people back and commenting. And then I don't want to say I like got disillusioned with it, but it's really a game. And after a while, I just like stopped wanting to play the game and was like focusing on other things. And so it's good in a way because I'm a lot less like concerned and like stressed out. Like I'm not like setting an alarm to make sure I'm posting, you know what I mean? Or like any psycho, like, I'm not like checking on certain people and being like, oh, well, what do they do? You know what I mean? Like I don't like.
You're kind of like posting when you feel like it and when something's interesting, and like your stories are pretty interesting and like.
The flip side of that is then like I end up posting like once a week. And, my Instagram hasn't really grown very much. Not that I need it to grow. It's pretty big, but it's just like, it just goes to show that it is a game, and if you are on it and you do play it, you can win at it. And if you don't, then it's just going to be there, and it's cool. Like I like it, and I have a better relationship with it now. But I think one of the downfalls of it is like I'm not as good when you're saying, oh, I followed you at this or that. I don't really see a lot of like new followers or like new potters, or people that are like coming up in the industry. I kind of feel almost like there could be all sorts of really cool people doing really cool things out there. And you just kind of get like burnt out with it after a while. And then now I'm like, well, sheesh, I wish I had done it so I'm burnt out, because now it'd be cool to like, I don't know, investigate.
Because with an account that size, you kind of have to like tend to your account when you're on Instagram. It's not, you're not a consumer and like looking at.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other thing that's weird is like if I don't keep up with who's following me, like somebody like famous follow, like the Pioneer Woman started following me a couple years ago, and I I know, right? I'm like, she's like real famous. I had like no clue. And like one of my followers was like, oh, did you see that the Pioneer Woman's following you? And I was like, who the hell is the Pioneer? I had no idea. I had to like go look her up, and I was like, well, shit,
she's in Walmart.
I know, she's in Walmart. I'm like, I followed her back. I mean, I don't know, just, and then so anyways, like we've direct messaged on occasion. I don't know, it's just like so trippy. But then I was like, well, like had that person not told me, I would have had no idea. You know what I mean? Like you just like, it's not like there's an app that like messages you and they're like, hey, somebody famous is following you. You know what I mean?
With
so,
the
like,
blue check mark started following you.
Exactly. So I don't know. Sorry. I just feel like I wish I was a little bit more invested as like maybe like have a happy, the pendulum, like it was way over here and I feel like it's way over here. I feel like it needs to like do a little evening out. So that I'm on there a little bit more.
Do you feel like the time and investment you put into it like over the last number of years is what made your business to a point where you could like sell out online in an hour and do the transfer business? Like if that wasn't there, that foundation wasn't there, you wouldn't have the business to the state where you don't need to worry about Instagram at this point necessarily.
Right. Yeah, no, that's definitely true. Like had I not had the Instagram, I don't think I could just put stuff on a website that nobody knows about and be like, oh, hey, I'm selling out, maybe like a few pieces, but not, I think Christmas we had like over 500 mugs and it was gone within like a half an hour. That wouldn't have happened.
Right.
So yeah, there's definitely obviously the benefits of it. It's just I feel like a little bit sad sometimes that I don't like I feel like I don't have the connection with the people on Instagram like I used to. Like even just like doing like Instagram chat groups with other people, like and keeping up. Like I used to be in, well, I still am, but I just don't like I can't keep up with it, people in there like chatting about pottery or chatting about business, and it's just, it goes so fast, you know, people are on there like all day talking, and then like I'll try to like check in like once a day, and by the time I check in, like they're already like 3 topics behind, you know, like I'm like, I just don't have the time to keep up
Right.
with it. So that kind of stinks, because it is a nice way to like connect with people. But now that I'm talking about it, maybe I'll like tomorrow I'll be like, ooh, I'm gonna get back on and do good
I
stuff.
think it's a good it's a good jumping off point, because like Becca and I started through Instagram, and that's kind of how we got to know each other. And then it's a jumping off point to start doing like IG lives together, and you get to know each other, and then the people that are following you get to know your personalities because they see you kind of at length. And then we got to the podcast, and like I think it's a good, not a stepping stone, but it's like a good starting point to start further conversation with.
Right, yeah.
You're
And
on
it's
TikTok
like,
now.
yeah, I'm on TikTok now. I tried to get my son to do it. He's the one that got me on there, and then I was like, come on, man, you got to help me, because he's like all into TikTok. But now we ended up just like doing a lot of reposting videos that I've already taken, but I want him to start helping me do videos that are like specifically for TikTok, because I can't even figure out how to make a video on there, you know? And he's like, it's not hard, you know, like, duh, like, just, and I'm like, Ocean, like, come on, man, like. So now that Steven's in Texas and it's just him and I for the next 2 months, I was like, all right, your chores are to start helping me learn how to do TikTok. So hopefully we'll be able to start doing some new videos, you know.
TikTok's a shot in the dark.
We started a new group on Facebook. It's called Pottery Decals. It's like a Facebook group, you know, and that's been really cool. The girl, she's not a girl, she's a woman. Christina, she helps me with my Instagram, my transfer Instagram, not the pottery one, the transfer Instagram account, like answering messages and stuff. She's been helping me on that as well. So that's been really fun. I haven't checked recently how many members we have, but last it was like, you know, it's like a bunch of people, and it's just like all decal related stuff. So not specifically just our decals, like people talk about all sorts of decals on there, and like issues that they're having, or like, you know, how to apply them better, or different things to do with them. That's been really fun. So
yeah, you mentioned your son there, and I had a question here that was, I guess, a little personal, but it's kind of interesting that I thought would be worth asking. So what is it like raising a son in this like artistic lifestyle? You know, you're kind of in the Ren Fair life, and now you're in more of like the home life. Like, what's it like raising your Ocean in that kind of atmosphere?
Well, when he was little, it was really awesome. We were on the road full time. We didn't have a computer, you know what I mean? Like, he was outside all the time. He played, he was like climbing trees. We homeschooled him. Like, he was basically awesome. He's still basically awesome. But now that we're in a house, you know, like he goes to public school, and, you know, we have internet, and there's like, he's a lot more techie than I am, and I would have expected him to be. He built his own computer, with my stepfather helped, for Christmas. And like, he's got like a gaming setup, and he's like, you know, I don't know. He's just like a lot more techie than I thought. And it's pretty awesome, because it's like it completely everything I'm not. So that's why I was kind of hoping he was going to help me with this TikTok thing, you know? And I try to think about it. Like, some days I get all like bent out of shape about it, you know, and I'm like, Fortnite, TikTok, you know, and I'm like, don't you want to come down and make pottery with me? But that kind of stopped, like, I don't know, maybe like last year or the year before. And I kind of was, because he's 11 now, and I kind of was like, you know what? There was things that I did that my mom hated. She was like, MTV, it sucks. You're going to rot your brain. Oh, you know, like all these things, like, you know, when I was growing up, we wanted to like watch MTV, and like, I wanted to dress like Madonna. She just was like not having it, you know? And so I think I try really hard to not like judge the things that he's into, because it's just different from what I would have picked for him, you know? So now, since then, it's been like a year since I kind of made that conscious choice to just let him be who he wants to be. And it's pretty awesome, because he is really techie, and he does do cool stuff, and he just built a computer, and he's like, I don't know, like if I like can't figure out how to do something, he helps me. And so, I don't know. It's been pretty cool raising a kid just in general, but I would say it's changed from being on the road full time than it has been in a house, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. being around like normal kids in a public school as opposed to being around a bunch of hippie kids, with dreadlocks that don't go to school and they're all like unschooled and they like,
Unschooled.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably way different.
Yeah. He does a pretty good job of being able to go back and forth though. Like when we're at the fair, he fits in pretty well. You know what I mean? And he's a very social person. He's able to fit into a lot of different environments, which is good because I feel like it could have been bad, him going back and forth.
If you like raised like an ultra introvert that like wasn't adaptable at all.
No, that wouldn't have worked. Yeah, that wouldn't have worked. No, he would have been like, I'm going to need therapy by 11 because my mom's making me, you know what I mean? No, he's a pretty awesome kid, actually. I like him. I think I'll keep him around.
Going back to the Ren fairs, like how many do you do still? Is it just one?
No, we do Arizona. Then we go, that's January, or it's February, March is Arizona. And then we go to the Scarborough Renaissance Festival in Texas, and that's January, February. That's April and May is the one that we're doing right now. And then the New York Renaissance Festival is August and September. I just stopped doing the Maryland one, but that was September as well. North Carolina is September, October. The other one in Texas, which we just stopped doing, is also September, October, and then Louisiana is November, December. So Arizona, one in Texas now. Move your FA. But like I said, we're trying to sell some of the shops at some of the fairs. Ideally, I'd like it to be just New York and the one in Texas, the Scarborough one, because I think that's manageable. Those are each 2 months long, and we each have 4 shops at each.
Yeah, I gotta imagine the keeping up with the pottery production. Like, was it almost a good thing that like COVID happened, because I feel was your pottery business getting out of control where you couldn't keep up with the stock?
Well, we didn't do pottery at all of them. I stopped doing pottery in Arizona like 4 years ago. So we were just doing our fairy booth here in Arizona. The only places that we do pottery at right now are the one in Texas, New York, and Louisiana. So that's nice because it's still 2 months each. And Maryland. But I stopped doing Maryland right before COVID. Louisiana, I just found a woman who's going to buy the shop for me there. And I'm trying to sell her also North Carolina and Arizona. So trying to like pare down, like I was saying earlier. And it's not so much that it's all of the pottery. It's just like the stress involved of all of the different working parts and dealing with the festivals. I love Renaissance festivals, and it was great to be able to get my start there. But now that I'm kind of transitioned into the real world and dealing with like real people that are like normal business people, where you have to like have like customer service and act professional, and you can't just like yell at people if you want to. It's different at the Renaissance Festival when it's a private owner, and like if they just have an issue with you, they can just like cuss you out for no reason. You know what I mean? Like it's just like, that's part of the reason why I stopped doing Maryland, was because I just like got into too many confrontations with like I was like, I'm like a professional. I treat people with respect. I deserve to be treated with respect. And it just gets stressful, when you're trying to run a business with that many moving parts, and maybe they're not used to being around. I don't know. Anyways, not to get too deep into that, but it's just like, it's not like a.
It's kind of like get the negativity out. You want some positivity here. Like I can't.
Yeah, and that's not how all Ren Fails are. It's just that like, it's just not as professional as being in the real world. It's so it gets a little bit tricky when I'm going back and forth.
It's kind of like the good old boy crowd. Yeah. It's like we're gonna do it our way. This is what we're doing, and you're like whoa.
Yeah, and like they do just like weird things because like I'm a woman, and like dealing with like I don't know, just like dealing with like sometimes guys in power, and they're like, well, don't you have a husband I can talk to? And I'm like, you're so annoying, just like, and like, I feel like in the quote real world, that stuff like that doesn't happen because, you work for a company and there's rules, and, like there's like a higher up that's like, hey, you can't just like unfairly, do these things. But when it's in like a private setting, and again, this doesn't happen all the time. It's just that like, like you said, it's a good old boys. It's like people have had that job for 30 years, and then like I roll up and I'm like owning 4 businesses, and they're like, well, how do you get to own 4 business? You know what I mean?
Right. And like, to be completely honest, it's like, oh, you're a woman, like, yeah, like, where's your husband? You know, it happens. It
Yeah.
happens. It just happens.
Yeah. Luckily, Steven will be like, oh, no. You should have talked to her.
Like, I don't need any part of this.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want anything to do with this. Sometimes I'll make him go, like, if I have like a meeting with something and I know it's a person that I'm going to have issues with, I'll be like, Steven, go with me for backup. And he'll be like, as long as I don't have to say anything. And I'm like, no, you just have to stand there. You just have to stand there.
You just have to look like you're mean.
Yeah, you got to look like you're going to do something if they don't say okay to what I'm asking them. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, so I think we just I'd liked it to be 2, but I think at the moment we're doing 5. But like you said, I think COVID was like a good thing. Like, who knew?
Like a reset for you, and like prioritize, like,
yeah.
And they're slowly getting back into it, right? It sounds like Texas was go, like Arizona was not. So like you kind of get your choice of like, what do I want to work myself back into?
Yeah, it's been cool because it's like you got like a break from it to see what the possibilities were. Like 2020 financially for us has been our best year yet, and that's with what is typically a half of our business not even there. So like, typically we do about half online, half at the Renaissance Festival. Well, we doubled, or we did more in 2020 than we've done in any previous year without half of our business there. So then, you go back to the drawing board and, Steve and I are talking, it's like, well, is it just because, of the transfers? Is it just because 2020 everybody started shopping online? Or is it because we weren't running around the country doing all of these things with all of our energy, spread out too many different places? We were able to focus on and actually, sell things, online. And it's like, well, I think it's a combination of it. But I think a lot of it is like, well, had in the previous years you sold the things online that you were selling in public in the fairs, if you sell them online, like I don't have the travel, I don't have the employees.
Right.
I can literally sell it online from my house with my pajamas on. So, I'm not planning on getting out of doing Renaissance festivals anytime soon because I personally just enjoy them. I love being there. I love the environment. But like we started off, I guess, talking about like trying to pare down and figure out like what I actually really enjoy doing that's worth not maybe making as much money, and what I don't really enjoy doing that, could be let go of,
Yeah.
So it's probably what we're doing for 2021 is kind of like, figuring out what makes the most money and do I like it, and what of the stuff that doesn't, I still like anyway.
Yeah.
I feel like you always have to have one thing.
Yeah.
One thing that like doesn't make any money, but you're like, that is what I like to do. It's like that's like my guilty pleasure.
That's roller skating for me. I don't make any money roller skating, but I love to roller skate. I would go roller skating like all the time if I could. It's so fun. Yeah. But it's not work, but I do love to roller skate.
Yeah, but it's like, it's just,
Yeah.
You always have to have one thing.
One thing, yeah.
So you said the fair's kind of like got you going. Like, do you feel like for people that are up and coming, is it better to spread your wings in a few different areas and like figure out what works, or is it better to like dig your heels into a couple things or like one thing and like get really, really good at that and like find the customer base and find the market for it? Or
I think in the beginning it's probably a good idea to kind of experiment with different things until you find the one thing that does work for you, and then just stick with that one thing, and like really like get in good with that one thing. So like if in the beginning you're like, oh, let me try doing Instagram, let me try doing online, let me try, doing some local shows and like see what works for you. And if local shows are working for you, then put your focus there. And if you're doing really well on Instagram, put your focus on Instagram. I would say that probably wouldn't be a good idea to like give up doing everything. I think you definitely should, have yourself out there, but you can't like dive into the deep end on everything. You kind of have to like pick a thing, otherwise you might go crazy. And then like once you like really find that, oh, shows in person are doing good, but you're also like kind of how you do, Ryan. You like do shows in person, but you're also doing Instagram. And then, you started off probably, I'm not sure, but it sounds like you started off doing, shows in person and then started doing Instagram. And then kind of like now Instagram's starting to take off. And then it kind of leads you to doing, this podcast. So, like kind of test it, see what you really like to do and what's really working, and then kind of roll with that until it leads you to the next thing. And then do that to the best you can do it, and which generally speaking, it'll lead you to the next,
Yeah. I think it's important to really like, if you don't like what you're doing, like if you go to a show and you're like, fuck, like I hate this, like that should be a sign.
Yeah, then definitely you shouldn't be doing shows.
Yeah.
I don't know what you should be doing if you don't like doing shows and you're an artist, though. Yeah, I don't know. You're like, if you don't like being around your customers that much. You have
to be famous on Instagram.
You have to be famous on Instagram, or you better hope you have a degree in some gallery, thinks that your master's degree in ceramics is worthy enough to be in their gallery. I don't know. Because then you don't have to sell anything. You can just give it to them and they take 40% or whatever.
Yeah.
You can hear my tone for there's a couple of galleries out there I do like, and I appreciate the what is it called, the collection, not the collection, the curation of it. They have a good it's a good way to find new artisans that you wouldn't normally find, but I don't know about some of the others that are just, I feel like, benefiting from artisans maybe not having the ability to get their stuff out there as they could,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, why go through a second party if you could sell it all 100% from yourself, and like you decide when you want to deliver it and when people can buy it and what you want to put out there, and they don't have to ask you, like, we want a selection of that thing if you could give that to us.
Right, and all has to be like look the same. That's the biggest thing for me, is like I'm like so scattered. Like one day I want to make this mug, one day I want to that, and now I'm like, oh, I gotta like, you have to like make it all like a theme or a collection, and I have to make it look all the same for how long, because that's what and it's like these same people are the ones who are like, oh, you shouldn't make things that the customers want. It's like, yeah, well, you're making stuff that the gallery wants, so what's the difference, like I don't know.
Yeah.
But I guess not everybody's as extroverted as all of us. You know what I mean? They, so some people might not be able to feel comfortable like going out and, talking about their work or putting their stuff out there, or, they might just not have the confidence to do it, in which case, that's maybe where galleries can help those people be able to get their work out there if they don't feel comfortable doing it,
Right.
So.
I like the show, like the shows I feel like are not as, like, as artists, especially when you're so deep into the process of like what goes into it, and maybe you're on Instagram and there's a lot of other potters that follow you and peers, there could be pressure of like fitting in with the peers and like feeling like your stuff's good enough with the peers. But if you're at a show, like there's a lot of people that don't even know pottery, or they're just like looking for a mug to use, and it's like relaxing for me to just be out there talking with people that are not in that medium necessarily, and they're just like enjoying what you're making, and like they can't even believe you make this by hand, and like I think that's special in and of itself.
Speaking to that is kind of what I was saying earlier back when we were talking about doing different work at the festivals, and I was saying like stuff. It's like that kind of thing where like on Instagram, like the customer, maybe they don't make pottery, but they're on Instagram. They see the pottery. They see the threads that are like people bitching about, this or that, or all these little things, minute details that like people typically wouldn't even notice or be upset about. But because it's online and they're seeing it constantly in their face, especially if they follow a lot of potters, then they see it. Whereas like at a festival, somebody comes in, they pick up a mug, like they're there. They're in them. It's the magic of the experience. They're there. They meet you. It's like, yeah, it has a little bump on the handle, but that makes that more magical,
Right.
So I hear what you're saying about that, and that does make shows, nice. Yeah.
I had a probably closing question as we
right on.
wind down here. So, what are the next steps for Elan Pottery? I know you mentioned the like decal, overglazed decal, and kind of resetting. That's probably a really open-ended question, but
Well, I mean, lately we've been kind of trying to decide that, with the selling some of the booths at the Renaissance festivals and focusing more on pottery, some of the other businesses, I should say, at the Renaissance fairs, and focusing more on pottery. We've decided, our house is getting really small for a studio. We're kind of thinking, do we buy a house with a bigger area for a bigger studio? Or maybe we stay in our current house and get a retail store downtown Frederick. And just kind of like thinking about that, like, do I want to be manning a retail store or hiring someone to man a retail store all the time? And then we think, oh, well, maybe I'll get a retail store downtown that's close enough to like downtown where people can walk to have lunch. They come for like conferences or whatever, workshops, but not maybe on the main drag. So we don't have to have regular business hours. So I think it's not definite yet, but we're kind of thinking either a bigger house or with a bigger studio, or keeping the same house and building a studio, or getting a retail store downtown, somehow being able to expand our workspace and offer workshops and other artisans to come in. I don't want to do like studio time where people come in once a week on a Wednesday night and I teach them how to do beginning pottery, but like once a month I want to do like a workshop where people come for like the weekend and they stay in our cute, adorable little town we have here. It's so adorable. It's like a college town. There's a ton of ceramics. There's a ton of art here, a ton of local restaurants, and then maybe they like rent an Airbnb and like we all go out to dinner on a Friday night. And then Saturday we're in the studio and we're doing demos and, like have other artisans come in, not specifically me, just like have a nice facility that people can come and then maybe during the week they can come in and design their own decal and I can sit with people on like Adobe and like draw it out and, I don't know, just like more of being able to bring my interaction with customers like I have at the Renaissance Festival to the transfer pottery end of things at home. I think that's going to probably be the next step for us. Now, how that looks, I don't know. So.
Yeah, it's interesting how you go from the super in-person like fairs where you're 100% selling person to person, and then online you're like, and then you're like, I want to get back to that. Like I want some more interaction.
Yeah, I really like people. I just like love, like you said, like people coming in and being like, oh my God, you made this, like, and getting to talk about it and talk about the craft and talk about, like what got you started and hear their stories. And, everybody that walks into the pottery booth is like, they can do this. I made this in high school. Like, oh yeah, just like that. You can do it too, like it's just like, I don't know, it's fun. Or like they want to talk to you about like Patrick Swayze, and like sometimes like you get annoyed, but then like after a year of COVID and not having anybody talk to me about Patrick Swayze, I'm like, I kind of miss it, So I don't know.
We just did our episode on shows, and like the last two episodes we did on like shows and like how to prepare and stuff, and like during that I was like, oh, I miss it.
yeah But like wait till like 2023 or something when we've had another full year of shows again, you'll be like, this sucks. I want to go back to 2020. Yeah,
totally.
Yeah.
Becca, what did you have any last questions for her?
What's your favorite color?
To wear or just in general?
Just in general.
Orange.
That's my favorite color.
That's yours? Yeah. Yeah, I love orange.
Wait, is that your favorite color, Becca? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean it's always been my favorite color, but I'm like, well, okay. We won't get into it, but historic, yes.
Well, I pick one color, the orange. But to wear would probably be black because nobody wants somebody wearing a lot of orange to wear.
It's funny you said black though, because it gets dirty with all the clay and stuff, but.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's like consciously my favorite. It's just that's like when I notice what I'm wearing is either like black yoga pants and like a black wife beater, or like jeans and a black wife beater and boots. That's usually what I'm wearing. So I'm like subconsciously, I guess it's my favorite color.
Cool.
Nice.
That's cool that we all like orange the best, though.
Yeah. I feel like I don't know a lot of people that like orange. Like, I never hear orange.
Maybe it's an extrovert thing. I feel like it's a loud color.
I'm actually an introvert, which nobody knows, but
Oh.
yes.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know people think I'm an extrovert, but I'm actually an introvert.
You just play a good role on TV.
Yeah. I'm an
Good
extroverted
role.
introvert. So like if you give me the option of going to like a bar that's really crowded or staying at home, I'm always going to choose staying at home. So
Well, sheesh, I think I would always choose that as well.
but I
But
also recharge by myself. Like
yeah.
so technically the difference between an introvert and an extrovert is how they recharge. And I think you are an extrovert because like when you're talking about people and how you like really love to like be around people and it like gives you energy, that is typically the like
Extrovert.
yeah, the extrovert, and I'm like
You're like, let's recharge. Let's go
Let
home.
me go home to recharge. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, that would make sense. I don't like large groups of people. I guess I should say that. Like, I don't mind like in my booth at the Renaissance Fair because it's just one-on-one with people. But when I leave my booth and I have to walk around, like I get real like itchy. Like I don't, it's like we're going to like a bar or a nightclub. I've never been like a fan of that. No.
Yeah.
What if it's on the roller skating rink?
Roller skating rink, sign me up. But even that, I don't like to go on Friday nights because these little punk teenagers are there and they're like knocking people over. And I'm like, I want to go on Sunday where like I have to compete with like the cute like old people that have been roller skating for like 40 years and they're holding hands, Like I much prefer the afternoon church crowd than the teenagers apparently.
I feel you.
Frederick, Maryland must be killing it with roller skating rink. Like I didn't even know that was a thing.
No, and they don't even have one in Frederick. I have to drive it's almost an hour away to get to the roller skating rink. But
wow. Nice.
I said to Steven, when you said earlier, what's your next business thing? I says, funny, I almost said we're going to open a roller skating rink. I was going to call it Pots and Roll or Rollin' Pots or something like that and have it like roller skating / pottery studio in the back because there's no roller skating rink in Frederick. It's so upsetting.
Yeah, you got to get on that. I like part of me wants to be called like Rollin' Dubs because it's like a play on pots, but like don't do that. But
yeah, like every parent will be like, sorry, you're not allowed to hang out at that place.
That is a bad influence.
Yeah.
No, I do want to say also, I think it's really cool. It's weird because we experience this too, but like people view our lives in a certain way, because you share it on Instagram. And I think it's really cool that you have like bought the new house in like I can't remember what it's called, but Ocean City. Yeah. Like Ocean City. And it seems like you're really like taking advantage of like having time off and like designing things and like, mid-century modern stuff and stuff that I love because that's like my jam. But like those lights in your kitchen, fucking amazing.
They're so good.
But yeah, I just think it's really cool that you guys are really taking advantage of that like extra time and using your money to make experiences. And as an outside view, I think that's really cool.
Thanks. Yeah, sometimes it's I mean, I'm sure this is a whole nother topic, but just like being like a face on Instagram that you have a lot of followers and then this like weird balance between doing what you want to do and also then like how much to share and then the stuff that you're sharing, how people are reacting and judging you for it and whether or not you're okay with it. And I'd say like 90% of the time I'm good with it. I just share and I don't worry. But there's like the 10% of the time where I wake up at like 3 a.m. and like start deleting stories like a crazy person because I'm like, oh my God, I was using a plastic straw. People are going to hate me. You know what I mean? Just like weird stuff that you like worry about that's completely unreasonable.
Yeah.
But you're a normal person, like I'm like a normal person. I like wasn't like one day like, oh, I want to be famous, so like you don't really like think about people. Not that I'm saying I'm famous, but you don't see people judging you, or like I go to like the store here or I'm at Hobby Lobby or not Hobby Lobby because I don't go to AC Moore the other day, and it was like 6 months ago, and this girl's behind the counter and she's like comes around, and I thought she was going to get mad because I was like being like bitchy about this coupon, you know, like a crazy person. And she comes around the counter, and I thought she was going to like be upset with me. And she's like, oh, I follow you on Instagram. And I was like, oh, you know, and then you're like, what was I doing, you know? Or like one time I went out to dinner, and the lady at the hostess lady like knew who I was, and I was like in like some hot mess of an outfit, and like just like not, you know, and I'm like,
You're feeling like you're judging yourself in that scenario,
yeah,
where you're like,
just
you
like
gotta
how
put
to
it
deal
on
with
for.
that, like how to deal with like not signing up for feeling judged by outside people. Like, I mean, I guess everybody gets judged by people, but when you have such a public forum like that, and like you didn't really sign up for it, but people are doing it, it's kind of strange. And so
Is
then
it
like
that way? Because you went to like, you've gone to Nsika and stuff. Do you have that same kind of thing in Nsika?
no, I don't mind that because I'm going there and I'm knowing that these things are going to happen. It's like
Yeah.
when I'm just like posting pictures of my life, and then people want to like message me and tell me that I'm doing things wrong. That's part, like, you know, like I'm like building a greenhouse in my backyard, you know what I mean? And people want to like message me and tell me about how I'm not putting the rafters at a certain angle properly. And I was like, first of all, I didn't ask you, you know what I mean? Second of all, like I'm building this thing in my backyard, and you're like, I'm sharing this with people because they're interested. And most people, like I said, 90% of the time it's fine. It's just like the 10% of the time that it's not makes you act like a crazy person. So then I wake up in the middle of the night deleting stories because I'm like, I don't want to wake up in the morning to 50 messages about how I was at a restaurant and was using a plastic straw in my story, you know, because I know that people are going to say something. And I guess it's like, oh, like you could just not care. But then if you didn't care, you wouldn't be the person that you are, and people wouldn't be following you, because if you didn't care, then you wouldn't do the things you're doing. You know what I mean? So like, I do care. I don't know.
Right.
Anyway.
That was
I
great.
think a lot of
That
people
whole
get
moment
something
was-
out of what you just said.
Yeah, basically.
But also there's a
Basically,
little bit
like,
of
if you see
like,
me using a plastic straw, please know that I would rather not be using a plastic straw, but they already put it in my cup, and what am I going to do, throw it away now? You know?
The turtle's already dead. The turtle is already dead.
Not to mention the fact that I just watched the new thing on Netflix, and actually plastic straws only account for 0.01% of the trash in the ocean, and it's mostly commercial fishing to blame. So I gave up eating fish as of last week.
Side note, my friend owns a pizza restaurant, and some of the waiters, whenever they, like before COVID, they would come up and be like, would you like a straw, or would you like to kill the, or no, they'd say, would you like to kill the turtles today, or would you like to not have a straw? And
people are like, oh, I have to make that choice.
But yeah, no, I totally get that. I'm not like famous at all, but when I went to Nsika the last time, I was not prepared for the amount of people that knew who I was.
Yeah.
And it does make you think, like, when you're doing stories and when you're talking about things, like, what am I talking about? And us doing this podcast, you know, we have to be really careful. Like, I don't know if Ryan does this as much, but I have to like consciously kind of like edit myself, because I'm a lot more brash than I make myself out to be.
Yeah, but then like later you're like, oh sheesh, did I say that? You know, like what are people going to think? Like how are they going to react to that? You know, and like I'm just doing this right now the one time, but you guys are doing this like every week, so I can imagine
I
it's
kind of
like
forget what we talk about by the end of it. I'm like, it's captured. It's a snapshot in time. I mean,
you're
I
like,
might
just
you
as
think
long as you're not like naming names, you know.
Some people are like, I mean, I'm sure some people are like, oh, like they're joking. Like they kind of know our personalities if they listen enough, that they kind of know like when we're joking or when we're like, yeah, we're not serious or.
Yeah, but there's definitely been a few episodes where I've told Ryan, I'm like, I'm not really, like, we're not doing this. Like, we're not releasing this because we've said things that I don't feel comfortable saying. And like even somebody like shared a comment about it was fantastic. I'm not saying it wasn't, but like somebody was like, I can open my kiln at 400 degrees, and I was like, I'm gonna get shot for this. Like Like
She
things
was
that
joking.
we
She did a little wink on there, so.
yeah, she did a little wink, but like I'm like all these people that don't know anything about thermodynamics and like about, thermal shocks,
Thermodynamics?
thermal dynamics.
I'm
What?
like, wait a
No.
minute, let's back up. Are you saying you can't open a can at 400? Because I open at anything like under 6.
No. Yeah. Like that was me being conservative, okay? So yeah, no, it's not thermodynamics. Thermal shock and like stuff like that. Like these newbies that are like, you can't open a kiln unless it's under 150 degrees. But like we say these things and we have to not suffer the consequences, but we have to like be strong enough and be confident enough to back up on our decisions.
Yeah.
And it's been I feel like over the past couple of years, I don't know, I think Ryan probably agrees with this, is that I've been a lot more confident in the decisions that I make, especially within pottery, because we do have this platform and we do have to say certain things that we're definitive on. We're like, no. Like we believe this is true.
Yeah.
And it's tough.
Yeah, especially if people are using the things that you say as an authority, and then using that to then kind of, influence their own work. You don't want to be like directing people in a way that's not correct,
Like they're learning from us, potentially, because
Yeah.
It's a lot
they
of
don't
weight.
go to school or whatever.
Yeah. But you know what? Like I said earlier, like you gotta like do things as they come, and like you can like do it how you believe it is right now, and then like later if you're like, oh hey, actually I learned something new, and that thing I said last week isn't actually accurate. Like you're a human being, and you're allowed to change and grow, and
Yeah, and we'll have those experiences on the podcast while we're talking. Like
Yeah.
Becca will say something about like, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
We're kind of figuring it out on the fly.
Yep.
As we do.
Yeah.
All right.
It's been awesome, you guys.
Yeah, we're pushing 2 hours here. So
Yeah.
if people don't already know who you are and where to find you, do you want to plug your
Elan
different...
Pottery, Elan Pottery, ELAN, pottery.com is my pottery website, and Elan Transfers.com is our transfer account, or you can come visit us at the Renaissance Festival, and if you message me, typically I get some free tickets. So if you want to come out and visit, always message first before you come, just in case I haven't given them all away. I'm happy to help you guys out with those. Yeah, I think that's an Instagram, Elan Pottery, Elan Transfers. Yeah.
Yeah.
God, I feel like I should have like I don't know. Like, do people usually have other things happening?
No.
No.
You're fine.
Cool.
You'll have some new decal stuff coming out soon, and people can look into those.
Transfer update on Monday, and the new decals, and that'll be exciting to play with.
Yeah. I think that I'm not sure, but I feel like I may have had the most memorable review of your decals, because I was like cussing on the decal, but also like I was so blown away when I put it on bisque. I was like, what the fuck? And like came out because I was doing it on little tiny plant sticks. But yeah.
Oh yeah. I want to come up with speaking of those plant sticks, I wanted to come up with like some that are like for wine and cheese for the holidays, instead of just having like the herb names, like all kinds of weird cheese names. There's so many weird cheese names.
Yeah, like little ones that you can make little like posts would be
cute.
Yeah,
like stick it, because right now, like when I have cheese, like not that anybody cares, but my sister's like real like she's vegan and she's like super bougie, so when she comes over, not that she even eats cheese, but I like to like present things nicely when she's over, so I make like take the cheese labels off and I stick it on stuff and put toothpicks in it, stick it in the cheese, so like everything looks all beautiful. And I was like, dude, maybe I should just make little transfers for these, so that way.
Yeah, and like funny word sayings too. I found that those sell really well. But yeah, the little tiny baby plant sticks that could be in cheese, those are the shit.
Yeah. Funny, the word thing, I started writing like a list of quotes, that are like I like, but of course they're mostly like 80s references or like 80s music. So maybe I need to pick other people's brains that aren't like so focused on the 80s for some quotes.
Yeah, everything that I find funny is not funny.
Yeah. But cool.
All right. Thanks for coming on,
Yay.
Leigh Anne, and we super appreciate it. I know everybody's going to get a lot of value out of this, so.
Right on. It was super fun, and let me know when it goes out so we can tell people to come and listen.
Ooh, will do for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Don't
right.
leave, but we're going to say bye.
Okay.
So, bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to our podcast. We really appreciate it, and we're having so much fun. If you want to follow us individually on Instagram, you totally can. Ryan's Instagram handle is @RDCeramics, and mine is 5 Lines Pottery. That's the number 5. We would love to hear from you, and don't forget to write us a review on our podcast. We read every single one of them, and we totally appreciate them. They help us out an awful lot, and they also put smiles on our faces. I hope you guys continue to listen, and we love you. Thanks. Bye.